You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZWLP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Business Hour. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. Thank you for joining us this week. I think we put together a pretty darn good show for you. But before we get started, I want to mention our show sponsor, AllegraHR.com. Allegra, ALEGREHR.com. They're HR, our human resource company, and I highly personally recommend, if you've got one or more employees, to reach out to them. Their website, AllegraHR.com, reach out to them. Everyone needs help with their employment, with their employees. Obviously, employees are a key asset, but when they're coming, you're in the process of hiring, or they're working for you, or they're going, and you need to terminate a relationship, you need to get some advice on how to do that. Otherwise, you stand a chance of that blowing up in your face, and we know what happens when things blow up in our business. They create all kinds of confusion, chaos, and I've actually seen businesses actually go out of business because they didn't handle things right. These folks are great. They're all over the world. Believe it or not, they have folks all over the world to help you, but they help businesses as little as 1 or 2 employees up to thousands. So AllegraHR.com, thank you for being the host of the Weekly Business Hour. I also want to remind you that we're on Facebook, and I would encourage you to look us up, the Weekly Business Hour. We have our own page there, and I would ask if you would like the page, set up an alert so that when we publish our new podcast each week about Wednesday after the show on Monday, that you'll get an alert. You get an opportunity to look who was on the show, what we discussed. Something appeals to you, then by all means, listen to the show. The Weekly Business Hour page on Facebook. Please like us. Well, what are we going to do today? Well, first of all, we've got some very special guests with us live in the studio. Josh Cherry and Robby Marlow have joined us. They're franchise partners with Delta Life Fitness. Also joining us in the expert corner, we have Ashley Easterwood. Ashley's the owner of Springwood Marketing. She's going to be talking about what you might be missing with your business website. And I'll close out today's show with my Silver Fox tip of the week. What is the temperature of your financial plan for 2018? So I encourage you at this point, sit back, grab your pad and pencil, and get ready to take notes as we talk about business right here on the Weekly Business Hour. Got a couple of announcements for those that live in the Montgomery County area or surrounding area. Got several great events coming up that might help you better operate your business. One of them is with Houston Community College. Now, this would apply to anybody in the Harris County area. Houston Community College runs a lot of little workshops and seminars for small businesses. This one's a financial workshop for small businesses who are either looking to start or already there and need to grow. There's several to choose from. They're 9 to 4:30, Saturday, January 20th, or Tuesday, January 30th, both of those at the Spring Branch campus. Or on Saturday, February 10th, they actually have one at home base, the Houston Community College at A-Leaf Hayes Road. If you've got an interest and want to register, just simply go to www.hccbizconnect.org. I would encourage you, we all can use some financial education. The other thing I'd like to tell you about and remind you, tomorrow there's a great show right here on Lone Star Community Radio. That's the Hispanic Chamber Connection radio show. Dr. Carlos, as he's known, will have some wonderful guests. Dr. Jamie Marshall, who's been on this show before, and Julie Gonzalez of the Quality of Life Chiropractic. Their business out in the Magnolia area is just booming. They've got a lot to talk about on health, wellness, and productivity from your employees. So I encourage you to tune in tomorrow on FM 106.1, 104.5, or right here on irlonestar.com. That's at 2 o'clock tomorrow, Lone Star Community Radio, the Hispanic Chamber Connection radio show. So I put it down and enjoy them. Always remember, when you're working in business, that opportunities are right there in front of you. So grab them and keep moving. The Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County and businesses throughout the world come to talk about the latest in business news, ideas to improve your business, and to hear from some of our local business leaders on how they have found success right here in Montgomery County. One thing else I need to remind you before we really start rolling the show, there's a podcast of this show. If you're not aware of that, you can listen to it after, typically on Wednesdays, it's posted all across social media, but I direct you to YouTube where you can actually listen and see us on the radio right here. We have a channel, the Weekly Business Hour channel on YouTube. So remember, if you missed something during the show or you want to revisit, re-listen to something, go to YouTube, the Weekly Business Hour channel. Well, let's get started with the heart and soul of the Weekly Business Hour, and that's our local business leaders and entrepreneurs. And in the studio today, as I mentioned earlier, we have Josh, Cherry, and Robby Marlow, friends and franchise partners with Delta Life Fitness. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. So glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, let's get it right into it. Delta Life Fitness. Well, it seems like fitness, right? We got that much.
There you
Tell
go.
us about your business and what it's all about.
Delta Life Fitness, as it stands today, is a women's focused fitness franchise. It's kind of like an Orange Theory. It's a boutique fitness. It's kind of a new industry, relatively new. After the onset of CrossFit, it's called boutique fitness, which is between about 2,000 and 4,000 square feet. Lower membership numbers, but highly focused for one individual client. In our case, it's the woman that wants to come and get a really good workout experience. And we have all the things tailored just for the woman, like the child care and stuff like that. So it's a fitness franchise tailored just for women as it stands today.
Well, let me ask you, Robby, how did y'all pick that niche to work in, just in women's fitness? I mean, obviously women are a big part of getting fit today, but how did y'all pick that niche?
So me and Josh, we actually been in the fitness industry for 10 plus years. And throughout that time we've been in the fitness industry, we did a lot of things. And one of the things was running a boot camp. And as we were running the boot camp, we realized majority of the clientele were ladies. And there wasn't a product on the market that made women the center point of the fitness industry or their product. So we were able to go through, we picked that demographic, and we built the program for them with the child care, with the workouts that are just designed for the woman's anatomy. Our program team and everybody involved was able to take that and run with it.
Now, I mentioned in my introduction, because we were talking a little bit before the show, that you guys have been friends for some time, went to the same high school, a year apart, you mentioned. But in the business today, who does what? What titles, what responsibilities? How do y'all split them up?
Yeah, it's a good question. I am in charge, and when you have a franchise model, really there's three core groups of the franchise model. There's the recruitment phase, which is selecting the right franchise partners to bring on board. Then there's the opening phase, which is everything from the franchise agreement being signed to getting the actual studio up, getting people trained, lease signed, build out. It's a big, it's more like there's a lot of workflows and stuff you have to go through. And then once the studio is actually up and running, there's field support. How do you continue to support that franchisee after they are up and running? I primarily run the recruitment, so finding the new franchise partners, and Robby runs the opening support process.
So y'all split it up. One brings in the bacon, and the other one fries it, cooks it, and serves it, right?
That is it.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, that franchise model, choosing that model for growth, why did you choose it?
So initially, it makes more sense because that's how you can scale. And then once we really dove into it, so most people don't know there's three different types of scale, right? You can go corporate on, just for your listeners to bring them up to speed. You can go corporate on, which means we're going to go invest our own capital and continue to open our own models. Or you can go a license route, which says I'm just going to give you the name and maybe one piece of proprietary information, and you can go run the business model however you want. You pay me a license fee. You don't need much to get started with that. You got to get an attorney to write you up just a license contract. You give them the materials and they go forward. However, if you truly want to give somebody all of the things they need to be successful, the marketing support, the ongoing support, if you want to mandate brand consistency, you cross over into the line of franchising, which costs a lot more money because you have to go build a franchise disclosure document and all those other materials. But the reason we chose franchising because we were just a license model, and we went to the International Franchise Association conference, the one that was here in Texas, actually, in San Antonio. And there's nothing more American than franchising, right? Like, Robby and I are super passionate about that. We have a programming team, and they're super passionate about helping the women get the results with our workout program. Robby and I like watching couples come in who want to start their own business and being able to give them the tools and coaching them through that, from the signing of the franchise agreements to opening their studio to living their ideal life. That's what gets Robby and I really pumped up, and that's what we're passionate about. That's what gets us up out of bed. So that's why franchising for us, we love that growth model and how you can. I honestly think that franchising is the best model in the world for growth, because you're empowering those owners to take that studio and grow it themselves.
Let's talk about the franchise model for a minute. I mean, I've had a number of guests over the past 5 years who have chosen that model. Some people from corporate America worked for large corporations, other small business owners, people, like you say, looking for that opportunity. A lot of families, husband and wives. And all the guests I've had thus far have been very successful with it, speak very highly of it. What does it take for someone to be successful? If I came to you, or my wife and I came to you, whatever, and to be successful with the franchise model?
Yeah, well, luckily we didn't know this. We knew how to run a studio. We got lucky, and we had the VP of franchising for Dunkin', the ex-VP of franchising for Dunkin', come and help us build out these systems. So we kind of understand that more completely now, and we had really good assistance to get there. So really, it takes three things. And it starts with recruitment. You can't just award a franchise to anyone. They've got to have three things. One, they've got to be financially qualified. And when we say financially qualified, they've got to be able to take the chance to open the studio, and if they lose that investment, it can't alter their lifestyle. So you can't touch 401ks, investment in, retirement funds, anything like that. So financially qualified is one of the most important things you got to look for. And then there's two other requirements. You got to see if they have business experience. Do they know how to file self-employment taxes? Do they know how to create a W-2 employee? Are we going to have to teach them how to go create an EIN number? So if they have business experience, that's number two. And then the third, and probably the most important, is do they have this type of business experience? In our case, it's membership model. So do you know how to go out and book appointments? Because everything else in the franchise model is usually done for you, except for how do you get the clients to walk through the door? How do I book that appointment? So we want somebody who feels comfortable with that experience to book appointments, because if you can do that, you'll be successful. So it's three things: financially qualified, experience in business in general, and then experience in this business.
Let me ask you a question about that. One of the things that really we talked about in 2017 quite a bit on the show was the fact that I, as an individual, and I'm going to own a business, it's made for some people, it's not. Just who we are. There's no right or wrong. It's just who we are. Do you do any work at all, any kind of testing or anything, or qualifying me as that I, as the individual, have it in me to take all these tools you offer to be successful with them?
Yeah, and since we're still talking about recruitment, I'll steal this one, Robbie. I'll let you get it. Recruitment's my little area. So yes, we have a pretty robust. And this, if anybody out there is looking into getting into a franchise model, if you go to try to open a franchise and you inquire and they send you the agreement and say, okay, let's get started, put on the caution brakes. And that was us early on before we put in these best-in-class practices. The entire application process is vetted to make sure that we're ensuring the highest degree of success for the person. So, the application process needs to be pretty intense. There's a lot of things we go through. From one, do they have our core values? Do they have the core values that we've identified at Delta Life Fitness that can make you successful? Are you passionate? It's the three things from traction, really. Do you GWC? Do you get it? Do you want it? And do you have the capacity to do it? And you have to really list out what those three things are. What does it mean to get it? To own and run a Delta Life Fitness studio, because any franchise you own is not going to be easy, like you said. For business, it's hard work. So do you get it? Do you want it? Is this the thing you want to do? And then do you have the capacity to do it? Do you understand how much time it's going to take? Do you have the money? Do you have the capacity? So it's three things: do you get it? Do you want it? And do you have the capacity to do it?
Well, it makes a lot of sense. So let me ask you, Robbie, you're on the back end, or really the production end of the business once they come in, site selection, things like that. Do anything special to make sure you get the right site?
Yes, we actually do. We have a whole process. Once you sign the agreement, you come on board. We actually start working with you from that point on, making sure that you select the right sites. Look at the things that we've seen over the years. We just give you consent. We say it's at the end of the day, it's still your business, your choice, but we help you and guide you along the way. Make sure you don't make the mistakes that we've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars and made the wrong mistakes. Personally putting the wrong studio in the wrong place, me opening a studio in the wrong place. Things like that. We help you all the way through the process of actually getting the doors open, hiring your first employees, training you up, through the build out, helping you with the architectural drawings, helping you make sure the studio is going to flow right and meet our standards. Yes, we got a big workflow we go through that we spent the last year building out. So.
Well, it sounds like you guys really have maximized, if you will, the franchise model. Well, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, we're to the end of our first segment today. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to continue visiting with Josh and Robbie about what they did and how they've made a success out of this business. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Human resources play a huge role in today's business world and can be a real challenge for small businesses. Allegre is a premier option in small business HR solutions and needs. Allegre HR advisors provide help to small business owners by allowing them to focus on operational needs while providing solutions that address all areas of human resources. To find out more, contact Allegre HR advisors today at 281-620-0713 or visit allegrehr.com.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour, and welcome back to our second segment of today's show. We're in the studio today visiting with Josh Cherry and Robby Marlow, who are franchise partners with Delta Life Fitness. Went to the break and we were talking about the fitness industry and what you guys have done with this fantastic franchise model you've developed. Let's talk about a little bit what the future might look like. 2018, what's your opinion, if you have one, about some of the challenges that you're looking at, challenges for small business in general?
Yeah, I think it's the normal challenges that come with a booming economy. Because like we were talking about before the show started, the economy is roaring right now. You've got a 3.8% unemployment. You've got the Dow is approaching 26,000, setting records. So with that, what happens? Competition is going to pop up, especially for the fitness business in particular, or small business. There's a good side to it. There's going to be more customers to serve. The economy is booming. More people are willing to go out and pay for fitness. But with that comes the natural, you're going to have more competition. So there's going to be more people going out and starting their own fitness, their own personal training practice, their own boot camp in the park. There's going to be a lot more of that in 2018 because the industry is booming so well. Another challenge that you're going to have is now that the economy is doing as good as this, people don't just go out and spend money on things they need, right? So I'm not going to just go buy a health membership because it's healthy. I have a little extra money, so I'm willing to go invest in a boutique fitness studio, but it's not because I need the commodity I'm paying for. So where you have to win and the challenge is in the experience, because people, now that they have more money, they're going to pay a little bit more. And the only way you can capture that revenue is by providing the best experience that your competitors can't provide. I think those are going to be the biggest challenges we'll see in 2018.
What do you think, Robby?
I think another challenge, especially with a good economy, what happens is customers become more easier to attain. You have to really system down and make sure operations are still running fluid because, hey, it's going to retract one day. And if you're not staying on top of the numbers, staying on top of the follow-ups, making sure you're taking care of all the opportunities, your business is going to get relaxed, and maybe when you have to start taking care of those opportunities, you're necessarily not going to have the operations or systems in place to capitalize on that. So just really pay attention to what matters in the business and the operations, making sure you're following up with the customers, you're executing on the product. Just don't get complacent with the great economy, because I've seen that happen time and time.
Well, you mentioned the great economy. There's no doubt. I mean, I don't care what your political feelings are. We're in a great economy.
Yes.
It's just blowing and going regardless of what caused it. And I agree. You take advantage of it. But you also look on the backside. What does that mean? What are my threats to what I'm doing? Had a conversation over the weekend, and I learned a lot, primarily about the grocery business, because there's a lot written now about delivery, home delivery. But I was talking to someone, and they were pointing out to, in fact, it was one of my daughters, if she gets a craving for something, some ice cream, she just goes in and orders it, and they deliver it. And disposable income is increasing because of the great economy. But we find ourselves offloading or outsourcing, whether it's a guy that sprays for bugs at your house, takes care of your yard. I mean, we're spending those dollars, and I'm kind of, we have choices to make where we spend them. And that was the conversation we were having about how we make those choices as consumers, where to spend. We got more money, but it's only going to be so much money going out to eat and things like that. It's very interesting. So you're challenged by the market about that disposable income that I have and where I'm going to spend it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
anything you do particularly to get my dollar other than just fight every day?
Well, I think it comes down to, you asked us why we went niche. That's the beautiful part about being niche, is when you know exactly who you serve, you can build your marketing on the front end to capture that one client, and then I can build my product to deliver to her pain points, and I can give her the experience I know she's looking for. So I think it starts with knowing your target market. If you know your target market, you can get them in the front door, and then you can give them what they truly want and what they're more willing to spend that exposable income on. But you have to know who you serve and what they want.
I think your point about consistency is so important, because there will be a downside. But even in, We got a lot of competition for our money right now in a lot of different ways. Didn't even exist 5 years ago. Because having that ice cream delivered to my daughter's house, that costs something over and above the cost of the ice cream. Very interesting. Robbie, you got something to add?
I think it's a perfect example of what people are trying to protect. They're trying to protect their time. And in the fitness industry, earlier on, we found out that trainers or gyms, they think more value is the more time they spend with you. So you'll see hour-long classes, hour-and-a-half-long training sessions. We actually shrunk ours 30 minutes. We realized the most valuable thing to our consumer is time. That's what they value the most. So we made sure that our workouts are 30 minutes long, but we get results better than our workout that the competitors give. So I think it's, why does she go online and order ice cream? Because it's convenient, but it saves her time from getting in the car and going down to the store and getting it. So we're able to do that with our workouts. We realized who our customer was, what's their most valuable commodity is time, shortened our workouts 30 minutes, made sure we get the best results in the industry. And we capitalized on that, and I think
that's absolutely true. So when you have more competition, right? The only thing that the main thing competition does is it forces us to all start trying to fight over price, right? And so now it's who can compete on price to get the customer, and we end up slashing all of our profit margins for all of the companies trying to compete over that business. But if you can be better, if you can be more efficient with time and space, that's where you win. And that's why you go into, most trainers think I need a bigger area to train more people. I need more time. You're not being, and that just costs you more rent, higher COGS, higher cost of goods sold. That's the opposite way to go right now with the economy getting bigger. Instead of going bigger and spending more time and more space and more rent and more COGS, you want to figure out how to be more efficient with both time and space.
Yep. And more efficient, how can I get, for us in our industry, especially in the fitness industry, how do we get more people, more members in a smaller space and a smaller footprint to allow us to be profitable faster?
At the same time, giving them more results than they could get in a bigger space and more time.
Yeah. So it's
let me share something with you. As a business advisor mentor, that applies to a lot of businesses, a lot of industries. I wouldn't say 100% because there always be an exception, but I'm telling you what you all are saying, and I hope folks listening are picking up on this, regardless of the industry or business you're in. It makes a lot of sense. Efficiency, driving for it when you have the money, because you have lots of money out there right now. You need to use those dollars. Let's back up and do something, talk about something a little more mundane, but just as important, raising money. I mean, obviously, you had to seek some kind of funding for your businesses. What'd you do? Share with us what you can.
So we've been through, Robbie and I talk about this a lot, actually. There's 3 ways you can stay in business. Once you start and you're on the track and you're in business, there's only 3 ways you can continue. And even more so, anytime, if you're in business, you've had that hard time. There's been those times where you've looked and said, I don't know if we can make this payroll. There are those cycles, right? Every entrepreneur knows what I'm talking about. There's only 3 ways that you can stay in business. One is you can sell, raise revenue, right? I can sell more. I can try to sell more product to get more revenue. The second one is I can go out and I can take credit. I gotta take credit somehow. I gotta get another credit card. I gotta get a signature loan. I gotta do something like that. Or, like you said, I can get financing of some sort. I can go out and get people to come in and take equity in the business. I think if you stay in business long, we cash flowed for a really long time. We were lucky. We were kind of different than most businesses now, especially with the economy. If I'm a young kid now, I'm trying to raise money early, probably beforehand. We cash flowed for a long time, and then we had to go out and dabble in a couple of those. But if you stay in business long enough, you're going to have to do one of those 3. You're either going to have to go and sell more. You're going to have to get, and this is true entrepreneurship. We talk about this all the time. We have a weekly accounting meeting, and we sit down every week, and we look at the books, and we say, which of these 3 do we need to get busy on today to extend that runway? That is entrepreneurship at the basic level. I have 3 ways I can stay in business. Which one or 2 do I need to get busy on right now?
Yeah. And I always talk about the start small philosophy. Me and Josh both, when we started our entrepreneur journey, we started with a little risk. And we learned, we were able to cash flow, learn as we grew into it, and then realized how important time and space. We realized all those things that most people say run off and go get a big facility and get a fancy thing because they want to look at me type status. We started in a park, training 5 clients. From there, got our first facility that was very cheap, and then from there, went and got a second one, opened multiple locations. So, I always tell entrepreneurs, especially early ones, like, don't feel bad to be working full time and work before and after work. That's okay. And that's what I think that's why we were able to do a lot of those things, cash flow early on, and put ourselves in good situations.
Here's something to really think about too. If you're a listener out there right now thinking about wanting to start your own business or go generate cash flow, like you said, something that investors that got where they are, they can see past the business plan. They like to bet on practitioners and real life things. So let me just give you an example. We have an investment company in California who owns probably close to 200 restaurants, all different types of systems. They partnered with us and ended up, we had to go through, like you were saying, we had to go through the board and we had to talk to their CFO in this high rise in San Diego. Two guys from Southeast Texas in a high rise in San Diego. They were in a park a couple of years ago trying to tell this investment firm why they should buy 30 of our units to put them up in California. And when they asked us for startup costs and business plan and stuff like that, we would send them, this is funny, and this is real though. This is real. We sent them our startup costs for what our studios were, what we were using for the startup costs. They looked at that and there was things on there like garage sale, picked up a desk, Costco's. Yeah. And it's still the head guy of Paradigm Investment Group. He still laughs and he's like, when I saw that startup sheet, I knew these were my guys because you weren't trying to fluff us. And then when we had a conversation with you, you knew how to generate revenue. You were staying small when you needed to. You went out and bought desks and chairs at garage sales. You've learned, like you started small, like Robbie said, you learned how to generate revenue. So more important than the flashy business plan or, the fluff you can put on the paper, if you can talk intelligently about how your model generates revenue, it starts with that. If you're going to go raise capital, you have to be able to generate revenue.
And if you're going to stay in business for the long haul, you're going to have to be able to generate revenue. Somebody is, and you got to have the product to do that.
Well, you guys make outstanding points. We've only got about a minute left, believe it or not. I mean, this has just blown by and a lot to talk about. Hope you'll consider coming back at some point. But let me ask you as a final question today, how do you measure success for yourself? And if you want your business, how do you both measure success?
We as a company, we follow the EOS system, the Entrepreneurial Operating System by Gino Wickman. So in that, they have what's the data portion is one of the 6 core functions of business. And with our data, we use what's called the scorecard. So we have a vision traction organizer, which lays out our 10-year, our 3-year, our 1-year, our annual goal, our quarterly rocks. We have the annual budget, of course, that goes along with that. But then every week, we all have to come and update the scorecard and be held accountable at our weekly meetings to a scorecard, which has about 10 of our KPIs, our key performance indicators. So it lets us know if we're doing the right things.
Yeah, so, success for us is based on that in the business. And me personally, continue to grow as a leader. As long as I'm growing myself and then growing the people around me and can see people stepping up and doing more things, that's success in the end of the day. And then at the end of the day, I want to create a health and wellness brand. I think we both do. I think and not just zero in on women's fitness, maybe some other brand that, branches off and starts helping other sectors of the fitness world.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough. I'm out of breath. This is wonderful, and you've got thank you again for sharing your experience, your expertise with us today. If folks want to reach out and get in touch with you about today's show or talk to you about Delta Life Fitness, what's the best way for them to do that?
Hey, especially if they are in the Montgomery area, we love sitting down with young entrepreneurs. It's literally our passion. So we're free for lunch anytime. Email me, Josh, Josh, at deltalifefitness.com. You can Google Delta Life Fitness. You can look me up on Facebook. You can look up Delta Life Fitness on Facebook. Seriously, if you're listening, you're in the local Houston area, reach out to me. I'd love to have lunch with you and see how I can help in any way, pass on some of the knowledge we've learned throughout the years.
Absolutely. And it's ROBBY at deltalifefitness.com. You can email me. I'm the same as Josh. I'll sit down and have lunch with any young entrepreneur that's, needs some advice.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I heard an offer for a free lunch. So anyone that's looking for lunch. But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you'll stay with us. We're going to take our break at the bottom of an hour. When we come back, we've got Ashley Easterwood in here, Springwood Marketing, one of the most whiz-kid people I've ever seen with websites and how to generate business and interest in your business. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Human resources play a huge role in today's business world and can be a real challenge for small businesses. Allegre is a premier option in small business HR solutions and needs. Allegre HR advisors provide help to small business owners by allowing them to focus on operational needs while providing solutions that address all areas of human resources. To find out more, contact Allegre HR advisors today at 281-620-0713 or visit allegrehr.com.
You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler. Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour, and thank you for joining us at the second part of our show today. We're going to have I think, one of the finest experts in her field join us in just a moment, Ashley Easterwood. But before we do that, I want to remind you that we have a podcast of the show, if you don't know that. It's typically put up Wednesday following today, so come Wednesday, the 17th of this week, there'll be a podcast. It's published YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, The Weekly Business Hour, Facebook, The Weekly Business Hour page, and a lot of other social media sites. So please take a look. If you have something you missed the first part of the show or you want to re-listen, I know the guests that we just had on, Josh and Bobby, they offered a lot of great advice and tips. You might want to re-listen. So look for the podcast. Also, I want to take an opportunity again to thank our show sponsor, AllegraHR.com. Allegra, ALLEGREHR. Great company. If you have employees, you need to reach out to AllegraHR.com. They can help you hire them. They can help you work them, get more productivity. And if you come to the end of the relationship and you need to terminate that relationship, they'll help you there. Don't get into trouble when you have to do something with your employees that maybe is unpleasant to you. Let these people offer you some advice. Reach out to them at AllegraHR.com. Well, now it's time for the Expert Corner. And again, we have, I think, one of the finest experts in the area of social media marketing in general, websites, and so on and so forth. Ashley Easterwood, who is the owner of Springwood Marketing, is joining us today. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you've got a busy schedule, doing a lot of different things. And today we'll focus on websites if we can. I mean, it's pretty mundane these days. I assume almost everybody has a website, question mark. Talk to us a little bit about websites and what we should be expecting beyond the basic level of just having a website.
Well, when you're seeking someone to build a website for you, I think it's really important to look for a company who can do more than just set the site up. A lot of times I have people contact me and say that the site was set up, but they don't like the way that it looks, or they have specific things that they wanted on the site, and maybe they weren't really the best at providing the information. So what we do at Springwood is we try to really focus on the content and the design, not just in general, but for specific industries.
Well, you know, that's one of the things I've learned. I've been around websites now ever since their original creation, believe it or not, and worked with clients, and you're absolutely right. It's a process, and when people finally accept, whether they're a Main Street business with just a single store or have multiple stores or even have a service business, plumber, electrician, it doesn't matter. All businesses need a website that works, and just putting it up there is really just not enough, is it?
No, it's really not. It's so important that we're specific to that industry. And then also, depending on who you're working with or any certifications that the business may have, there's also regulations that we have to keep in mind. So accounting firms, for instance, can't use certain words due to their licenses. And so what we like to do is we take the information that we provide and we try to research what we can and cannot say. And then we also design that site so that it's specific for the people who might be visiting it. Obviously, if we're designing a site for oil and gas instruments, the tone that we use, the words that we use to describe the services, it's just going to be completely different. So there's just so much more that goes into building a website than putting it up. We really need to pay attention to the audience, the graphics that we're using, the tone, and the actual content involved.
You know, you make a wonderful point there about target audience and how it's important to design a site. You know, if I have a business and I have any kind of advertising that I do, regardless of the media, a handout, a brochure, a mailer, anything, whoever did that with me should have taken in consideration and asked me who my target audience is. But, you know, a lot of information I see out there, advertising materials, marketing materials, they seem like they're clueless. They just sort of turn out something that is this just works over here, it worked there, it worked in Atlanta, but now it's got to work in Montgomery County. That just doesn't work, does it, anymore?
No, it doesn't. You really need to find someone who's going to put in the time to really research who you are trying to target. And again, if we're creating a mailer or a brochure, that content is not going to be the same. The design is not going to be the same as something that we are putting out on social media, for example. The tone is just different. The word choice that we use is different. But one thing that does need to stay the same is your brand. We do need to have some consistency there with the brand itself, but also pay attention to who's going to be seeing it and where they're going to be seeing that information.
Well, let me ask you about the content. You touched on that earlier about the words and choosing the tone. And again, I can sit down and write a piece of copy based on what I think it might be, and I'm a business person, right? But do I really understand the marketing aspect? How critical is it that we have a website that when people come to it, again, assuming that we know our target audience, I mean, they're going to read it, and if it isn't right as far as the way the content reads and so on, it just doesn't work, does it?
No, and there's also a level of professionalism that we need to keep in mind. When we have people come to the site, we need to have the content. It needs to be professional and be set up in a way that it's going to grab the attention of the person visiting the site, and then also lead them across the site to other pages. And then that brings up the topic of SEO, which is, in addition to the basic content that we have on the site, we also, again, have to keep the search engines in mind. So we're writing that content for the people who are visiting, but we're also writing that content for Google. So there's just so many different aspects that we have to keep in mind when we're developing the website. And that's why I think it's so important to pay attention to the company that you're hiring, because too many of them don't do that. They might put up a site that's beautiful, but the content isn't there. Or they write the content, but it's too technical and it doesn't look nice enough to grab the attention of the person going to the site. So we just need to find the balance of the way that it looks, the content for the people, the content for Google, and then also keep updating that content so that your website is fresh and Google keeps crawling it.
That's one of the things I think if a lot of folks mention. You've got this, as you called it, a balance, because you've got to appeal, if you will, to Google. You've got to really appeal to the reader. And somehow so many people and people in your business they're just not able, I think, this is my experience, based on my experience, are able to cover the bases, so to speak, to make sure that what goes up touches all those little points, so that it is a piece of content that will attract people.
Right. And you really need to find a marketing company that you can trust, especially when it comes to the search engine optimization side, because there's so much information, there's so much work that goes into the back end, and the average person, the average business owner just doesn't understand it. And so a lot of times they just depend on the marketing agency to be doing these things, and it's not always being done. And people have come to me before and said, yes, they did these things on the back end, I can't see them, but then when I check, those items just aren't there. So really meet with the person that you're choosing to work on your site and find someone who you can trust that you believe actually knows what they're doing, because you may not understand it, but you'd like to find someone who does understand it and is actually going to do what they say they're going to do.
Well, let me ask you, we've got about 30 seconds left. Site layout, how important is that in today's world to have a website that really works?
Site layout is incredibly important because we don't just want people going to the home page. We do have a lot of single page designs where you're just scrolling down, but we need those call to action buttons so that the people on the site will click that button and move across the site. That helps you in Google, and it also allows the business owner to track the most valuable pages on their site and really know where the audience is going to on their site.
Well, you've given us a lot of valuable information, if nothing else, a lot to think of. Let me ask you this. If someone wanted to get in touch with you and talk a little bit more about this and try to understand better for their business what their website should be doing, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Well, they can see the work that we've done on springwoodmarketing.com, and they can call me directly at 832-663-9195.
Ashley, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for bringing your expertise to the table here on the Weekly Business Hour. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to our final break of the day, and when we come back, I'm going to offer my Silver Fox tip of the week. This week, what is the temperature of your financial plan for 2018? So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back with you.
Human resources play a huge role in today's business world and can be a real challenge for small businesses. Allegre is a premier option in small business HR solutions and needs. Allegre HR advisors provide help to small business owners by allowing them to focus on operational needs while providing solutions that address all areas of human resources. To find out more, contact Allegre HR advisors today at 281-620-0713 or visit allegrehr.com.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. We're in our final segment today, and in just a moment, I want to get to my Silver Fox tip of the week. What is the temperature of your financial plan for 2018? But before I do that, I want to remind you again that the Weekly Business Hour is on Facebook. It's on Facebook, the Weekly Business Hour page. I encourage you to go to that page on Facebook if you're a Facebook subscriber. Like the page if you don't mind. Also set up an alert so that you get our blog, our podcast each week, and you can take a look at it. And if it looks like something worth listening to, then you can do so. Also, if you have a question, and I failed to do this early in the show, and I apologize. If you have a question about the show today, a comment, or you have a business question about your business, I encourage you, feel free, send me an email, Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. I'm here to answer questions. It's what I do for a living. I'm a mentor advisor. I'm a Silver Fox advisor. If you want to check that out, go to silverfox.org. It's a great organization here in the greater Houston area. I personally, though, serve clients throughout the United States and, in fact, even overseas. So let's talk about what is your temperature of your financial plan for 2018. I wrote a blog last week about this. And by the way, if you would like to subscribe to that blog, simply go to our website. It's One Best Consult. That's the number one, onebestconsult.com. You can subscribe to our blog. We write one each week. And this week, it was the temperature of what is the temperature of your business financial plan. And in that blog, I talked about several things. First of all, was the encouragement, if you don't have a financial plan yet, typically at least a budget for 2018, then you need one. I encourage every business, sole proprietor, all the way up. Obviously, as the business gets bigger and you have people actually working in the accounting, financial area, you have budgets, you have financial plans, and as you get larger, they get more intricate because of the responsibilities the entity has to more parties with the financial information they offer. But get that plan out, and I encourage you to share it. I had someone the other day says, well, I'm a sole proprietor, and I said, well, do you have a family that depends upon what you do in the business for their success as a family unit? Well, yeah, I'm married, I have a family, I have children. And I said, well, share the plan. Now, your spouse may not be interested in going through all the intricate numbers, but share the plan and an idea that, hey, 2018 looks like a good year. Hey, it looks like we're going to do X in revenue. I'm doing this, this, and this. Don't be afraid to share your business because your spouse has an interest in your business. Now, they may just sit there and nod their head, and that's okay, but at least you shared it. Obviously, if you have employees, you have supervisors, managers, larger businesses, it's important at some level, whatever you're willing to disclose to them, have a disclosure, share what you're doing. A lot of folks seem to be scared to do that, but there's ways to do that. Still retain your confidentiality because you need buy-in. You need buy-in to your plan. You need your spouse to buy in that what you're doing with that business and taking the kind of risk you're doing if you're a sole proprietor, same thing applying to any small business. You need to communicate what you're doing. Budgeting is a form of goal setting, and I did a speech last week to the local Conroe Noon Hour Lions Club here, and it was about goal setting, and that's a pretty mundane topic. You can get information about it. You see thousands of books. But budgeting is one of the things, though, that I brought up. Goal setting. When you set a budget, you've said, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Revenue, expenses, profit. This all shows up to me if you do no other goal setting than just doing a good budget. Meaning, and by good, I mean you take some time. Okay, you look at the factors. You look at your revenue forecast. You consider where your revenue comes from. You take a little bit of time and dive down, become familiar with those things. And the neat thing about it, what I do is I make some notes and I put them away. And as I go through the year, I've got my budget. But when I come to next year, I look at the notes. I look at the assumptions. I write those down of what I'd made in a business and to see if it came true, see if I was able to make it happen during the year. Do the same thing on the expense side. I mean, you've got to have some specificity when you set a goal. That's one of the basic tenets of goal setting. So spend time looking at expenses as well as revenue. Consider the source of revenue, as I mentioned earlier, but also look at your expenses. It'll be amazing that if you don't just react to an expense, but you take some time to think about it, you might be able to save some money somewhere. You might realize, hey, we're spending this on that. You know, in my practice, it's amazing. I will visit with clients or prospective clients. They've been in business 5, 10, 20 years, and they've got an expense or two there that they haven't really looked at and thought about. It just keeps repeating itself, and we're able to really examine it, take a little bit of time and examine it carefully, and they realize they could do it a different way, particularly in today's world, particularly in the area of technology, and they could actually save money and in some cases actually produce more revenue. So take a temperature of your business plan as you go through. The last thing I want to mention that I mentioned in the blog was the format. Be sure your format's readable. Most importantly, it's understandable by you. And if you really share it with someone, whether it's there in the business or a bank or someone, obviously they need to understand it. You don't need to try to figure out what the numbers mean as you go along. A couple other things to kind of wind up that topic here. Don't be afraid. So many people are afraid to put numbers down, to set a goal with numbers that are really, truly measurable. Don't be afraid to do it. I encourage you. Even if you just put a revenue goal to start and then eventually develop a budget over the next few years, that's okay, but get started doing it. Don't be afraid to share it. As I mentioned earlier, whether you're a sole proprietor and you've got family, regardless, share it. Look to create teamwork in your business and accountability, not just for yourself because you've set that goal, that financial goal, but the people that work in your business because they are the ones that are going to execute on it. And then third and lastly perhaps is benchmark it. Don't wait till the end of the year to pull the budget out and see how you did. Make sure you look at it at least on a monthly and quarterly basis. Make sure you see how you're doing because so many times the world changes more rapid these days, I believe, than it did in past years, 5, 10 years ago. You've got to check your numbers, make sure you're where you want to be. And if not, make some adjustments. You know, it's like playing in football. Call an audible at the line, make some adjustments that make sense for your business. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. And I encourage you, put a note on your calendar for next week. Join us again right here on Lone Star Community Radio on Monday at 11 o'clock. We'll have a great special entrepreneurial guest from the area and some experts join us. Remember, you too can sponsor the Weekly Business Hour. All you need to do is contact me right here at rick@irlonestar.com for details. And again, look for the podcast of the show on YouTube, Facebook, across social media. And you can absolutely go to the website of the station, irlonestar.com. Click on the Weekly Business Hour and you'll have the podcast you need. Again, thank you for joining us. Remember to stay in touch with what's happening in Montgomery County right here on Lone Star Community Radio. Until next week, I encourage you to stay engaged and keep the focus on what counts on your business.
Thank you for checking out this production of Lone Star Community Radio. Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station. Don't forget to check out this show and many others across the Lone Star Community Radio Network, either live on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, the Lone Star Internet Radio app, or irlonestar.com's live audio stream, and on replay on podcast, Channel 12's Our City TV in Conroe, or Channel 21 KVQT in Houston, and of course their YouTube channel. This production is copyrighted and all rights are reserved by Lone Star Community Radio. Have a question regarding this program or other Lone Star Community Radio shows? Want to sponsor or start your own show? Call the station message line at 936-647-3776 or email the station at lscrstudios@gmail.com.